Just gonna say it up front, massive, massive spoilers. If you don't want to hear spoilers, please click away. Okay, good. Now that it's just us, let's go on. So, we're in the end of Game of Thrones. I know there's 3 episodes left, but the main plot has officially been resolved. The whole battle for the Dawn, White Walker, others, whatever you want to call them thing is officially done. It was resolved in the 3rd episode of Season 8. So, what happened? How did it get resolved? Did I like the episode? Did I hate the episode? What did we find out? Well, this was a long one. This episode was an hour and a half, and this is HBO, so that's like an honest hour and a half. There's no commercial breaks. So, there was a lot of stuff covered. My first thing, and this is a major complaint, is I don't know if it's just my TV or my broadcast signal or something, but the video quality of this episode was absolutely horrific. The camera was shaky. The filters they put over it looked like garbage. I couldn't tell what was going on. I actually started to feel motion sick at various parts of the episode because everything was just so dark and there was so much smoke. I guess people will say, but Argent, that's just the way war is. And they were trying to be gritty and realistic. Okay, well, if you're trying to be gritty and realistic, A, don't have dragons. And B, I don't really care. I'd rather be able to see what's going on than go for complete realism. So that made this whole episode kind of suck because I couldn't really tell what was going on because of how bad the camera work was and how bad the lighting was. So that's kind of complaint number 1. So the episode opens with them arrayed outside of the front of Winterfell, ready to fight the others. And immediately I didn't really get this. I was like, why are they outside of Winterfell? They have one of the largest, most well-fortified castles in the 7 Kingdoms. Why wouldn't they fight them from behind the walls? Why would they put like 80% of their soldiers out in the open? It doesn't make any sense, but they decided to do that. So first up are the Dothraki. Melisandre shows up and she uses enchant weapon or whatever, so all the Dothraki's swords alight. And so they charge in. We don't even see the army of the dead yet. They're off in the distance, but the Dothraki just charge. They also fire their trebuchets, which for some reason are also outside of the walls. I'm pretty sure if you have a trebuchet, especially if you're fighting like a target as large as an army, you could fire from inside the walls. I don't get why they build them there, but they decided to do that for reasons. So they fire once with those. The Dothraki get defeated in approximately 30 seconds. Dany and Jon just kind of fly around. They don't really do anything to help out. You think they just try to strafe them as much as possible. And like, they don't even use arrows really in this. And I was kind of like, how big can the army of the dead reasonably be? Like, there's not that many wildlings. Most of the north, like the northern part of the north, was evacuated. You'd think there might only be a couple tens of thousands of them, which isn't really that much when you consider they die in one hit from obsidian. Like, if they had a couple hundred archers, a couple rounds of arrows will kill like half of them. But for whatever reason, the Dothraki run into the pitch black and get killed. And then Dany and Jon do like one strafing run and then fly off. And no one bothers to fire at them with arrows or anything like that. So the undead just run up and they just hit the Unsullied, and the Unsullied basically immediately fall apart. And it just turns into a total disaster. It's like the first 5 minutes of the battle, they've already lost 50% of their soldiers. Why they didn't just put them all on top of the walls, I don't know. But then again, I guess I'm just not the level of genius military strategist of these people. I'm not big-brained enough. So as they're getting their asses kicked, people start to withdraw into Winterfell. And it turns out that they had a secret plan. They had a trench around Winterfell that is full of oil. So they activate the trench, but they do it behind the Unsullieds. The Unsullied, most of them can't escape, and the vast majority of them die. Why the trench wasn't in front of all their soldiers doesn't really like make sense to me. So like, I'm just gonna say, my how I would have done this battle is, okay, the trench is a good idea. You have it full of oil. You wait on top of Winterfell's walls with as many archers as you can get, baskets and baskets of obsidian arrows. You wait till the undead are close, then you set the trench on fire, and the undead can't cross that, so they're just going to be mulling around. And then you can kill a whole bunch of them with arrows before the battle even really gets going. And then once you do get into melee combat, a couple thousand of them are down, so that'll make that a lot more manageable. But they decided not to do that, so the undead basically just threw themselves on the fire until there was enough of them to make a bridge. And it, like, keeps changing how the undead work. Like, they sometimes instantly explode if they get hit by fire, and then in this case they just weren't really burning for some reason. I don't know, it didn't really make any sense. So they reached the walls, and this was, like, designed by the guy who designed Shogun 2. Because they just climb up the walls with, like, no trouble and break through. So that's happening. Meanwhile, in the crypts, Sansa and Tyrion are having a bunch of ambiguous romantic scenes that made me want to vomit. And this is kind of funny, actually. The Night King revives all the Starks. The undead Stark, like the dead Starks from the crypt, they revive and they kill most of the people down there, except for Sansa and Tyrion because they're main characters. So Jon and Dany get into an incoherent fight with the undead dragon, and the undead dragon gets killed, but it comes back later, and one of the dragons gets killed, I think. It's really hard to tell, like, what's going on in this episode. But Dany just fucks off for, like, the next half hour or so and does absolutely nothing to help them. So the Night King shows up as they're getting their asses kicked. And by the way, Beric Dondarrion just dies. Who cares about Beric Dondarrion? He was like a useless side character. So he gets killed. And after he gets killed, Arya talks to Melisandre, and Melisandre says, "What do you say to the god of death?" And she says, "Not today." So Arya's got a plan. Arya's got a master plan somehow that she's going to win this war, because they really can't let Jon, Tyrion, and everyone else run it, because they have no idea what they're doing. Absolutely no idea what they're doing. So the Night King shows up with his posse of others. I guess there's only like 11 others or something. There's a lot fewer of them than I figured there would be. But they show up and they're walking through like the front. They're walking towards the front gate. And as they're walking, Dany finally shows up and she shoots the Night King with dragonfire. And you're like, wow. Is this gonna be it? Did they just kill the Night King? Did they just beat him? Is this war over? Is it just going to be that simple? Is it going to be like this inversion of expectations? And for a minute, I was like, kind of like just wondering. And then the fire clears and he's completely fine. And I'm like, but it's Dragonfire. Dragonfire can destroy anything. Dragonfire can light stone on fire, for God's sake. But no, it does absolutely nothing. And then Jon like runs up to fight the Night King, but he raises a bunch of undead, and then Jon gets his ass kicked. And as Jon's getting his ass kicked, Dany just sits there on her dragon doing absolutely nothing. And the predictable happens, and the undead just form the dragon. She doesn't try to fly away. She doesn't try to get it to breathe fire or anything. She just lets the dragon get killed, but it does fly away, and it comes back uninjured later in the episode. Could the undead even like hurt a dragon? I don't know how strong a dragon's scales are. I don't know if like they can even be penetrated by like teeth, claws, and like crappy brittle iron weapons. I mean, an anti-dragon ballista that was designed specifically to kill a dragon kind of did only minor damage, so I don't get how like some random wight with a dagger is actually going to be able to hurt something like that. Lyanna Mormont died, which was kind of sad, but she killed a dragon. She killed a giant zombie. So Dany gets thrown off, and then Jorah Mormont shows up with Heartsbane. And Jorah Mormont starts kicking ass. He beats the crap out of a whole bunch of them. Dany picks up a sword and starts fighting. I didn't know she was even trained, but she's a main character. And then, like, the stupidest thing in the episode happens. Jorah Mormont gets stabbed through the breastplate with a dagger. What? He gets stabbed through the fucking breastplate with a rusted, like, degraded dagger. And I'm like, what the fuck? How is that even, like, possible? Medieval full plate could stop bullets. They could stop bullets from early guns. They could stop all kinds of stuff. If you, like, I've seen tests, like I said, on YouTube, where people have taken butted chainmail and they've thrown pilum at it, which is like an iron dart, and that wouldn't go through chainmail. So we're supposed to believe that somehow a dagger goes through. So yeah, so then Jorah dies, but he doesn't get any last words because that would be cheesy, unlike everything else in this episode. And Beric Dondarrion also gets stabbed through the breastplate. It seems to be like a recurrent theme in this episode. Theon also gets stabbed through a breastplate. Easily. I guess, like, why bother wearing armor? Because you'd think armor would be really useful, because the Army of the Dead only has, like, claws, teeth, and, like, degraded, rusted weapons. So, like, even basic armor should be able to stop it. But it isn't for some reason. So they're getting their asses kicked, and Theon is defending Bran. So Theon, like, the Ironborn all die. Theon's the only one left. Bran tells Theon he's a good man. The Night King shows up. Theon incompetently runs at the Night King, who stabs him, like I said, right through the breastplate with a normal sword. And then he walks up to Bran, and he's about to kill Bran when out of nowhere, Arya jumps in and stabs the Night King with the Valyrian steel dagger that we saw in, like, episode 2 or whatever, and kills him. Then all the other others die, and all the undead fall apart, and they've won. And then the sky clears up, and that was the climax. Why Valyrian steel could kill him when Dragonfire couldn't? I don't know, but that's the end of that plot. Like, all that build up in half the season, and everything just gets resolved in, like, the last 5 minutes. It's just, I don't know. I don't know if it's disappointing or I'm not disappointed or how to feel about it, to be honest. It's kind of a very mixed feelings about the episode. The battle scene was nowhere near as good as the battle at the wall, in my humble opinion. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't like... No, it was bad, actually, because it made no sense. The Battle of the Bastards was way, way better. The Battle of the Bastards was probably the best battle scene they've had in their show. It was just... like, I couldn't tell what was going on. If you're going to have an episode that's like 80% action with very little dialogue, you really need to be able to, like, film a competent action scene. And this felt like it was recorded on a potato by a drunk monkey. So they won. It's not the worst victory, I guess. It kind of makes sense for Arya to kill him. I kind of like the poetic justice of using the dagger that the assassin had who tried to kill Bran. That was nice, but overall it's just like, okay, what are we going to do for the next 3 episodes? I guess they have to beat Cersei. How are they going to beat Cersei? They have 1 injured dragon left and no army, and Cersei is the 20,000 men of the Golden Company. So, good luck with that. Good luck with that. Anyways, that's my review and my plot summary. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll talk to you guys later.